Shalom, shalom, Israel. This is Javon with Warriors of the Ruwach. And thank you for taking a moment to listen to my updated testimony. But first, before we get into that, let me just give all esteem and all honor and all praise to YaHuWaH for everything that he's done, for giving me my breath of life, that every single day when I wake up, I know it's a day that I can live for YaHuWaH and obey his commandments, because this is what we are to do in life. And that's Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verses 13 through 14. And I'll just quickly read it. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear YaHuWaH and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For Elohim, or the Mighty One, shall bring everyone's work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. So once again, thank you for taking the time to listen to this updated testimony. And for all you out there who have heard my old one, again, this is an updated testimony, and just touching on some things that I've learned and where I've come from and how I've grown over the years when seeking YaHuWaH's truth. Not my truth, not the truth of what my parents told me, not the truth of what pastors have taught, what friends have taught, because as I've realized, many people have their own truths or truth, but the only truth that matters is the truth of YaHuWaH's word, which is found in the Hebrew Old Testament, the Hebrew ToRaH. With that said, for those who haven't heard, I'll just give a brief summary. So as growing up, for all of those who don't know me, I grew up in a strong Christian home. I lived Christianity all of my adult life, pretty much. What I was taught growing up in Christianity, because we know there's several different belief systems, there's 200 versions or denominations of Christianity, and 45,000 globally. So there's different variants to Christianity. But however, me being Black and Hawaiian, those cultures, they're very spiritual, if you would. And so Christianity was a big part of my life. And the way that I was raised in Christianity was that the Creator is put in every aspect of your life, whether it's in decision making, whether it's just waking up and what you're going to do today and all these certain things. The Creator was involved. Now, again, we know that there's so many different versions of Christianity and they teach it differently. Some families are taught to believe that, the Creator is just in Sundays, for Sundays only. And they go there, they put the Creator there in that building, that church building, and then when they come out immediately, they live a different type of life. For me, that's not what it was. Every single day was a life to live for the Creator, and I still do that today. However, that's how I was raised with Christianity, and I saw at a very early age the hypocrisy in Christianity. And this is why you hear people say, well, I'm the good Christian, or I'm trying to be not the fun Christian, but I'm, the real Christian. As they say, there's different variants. Like I said, so many different flavors of Christianity. So being a devout Christian was how I was raised. And I remember being called a super Christian, or that I was living Christianity too hard, that I couldn't sin if I, even tried. I was the type of person that grew up not smoking, or drinking, chasing various women around. That's not how I was raised, and that's not the template I was shown growing up with my family dynamics. So I was pretty straight up. I was proud to be a Christian. I liked the fact that I felt like I was doing something different than everybody else, because I saw at an early age the hypocrisy in Christianity, saying one thing but doing something else. However, when you are looked upon weird or frowned upon because you're asking questions about, well, this is this, but I see this, how Christianity, they make it feel like, you're off or you're disrespectful. when in all reality, you're being curious. That's a human nature, right? To want to know what's going on and to have some, insight of why we do what we do. And another thing people may not know is that from a young age, I really liked finding out how things worked, taking things apart and seeing how things were put back together. And as I grew up, I love research. And even today, I am a research nut. I like facts, I like evidence, and I like doing the research on different subjects because I myself, not only am I curious, but I want to know what these various things are and how they work, right? So even at a young age, that was something that was in my mind, was just being curious about what I'm seeing here in this Bible that we're being taught versus what's really happening and what Christians are really doing. Just a quick backstory of how I was raised and how I was, taught to look at Christianity and look at the Creator was that basically every single thing you do, He is involved. The Creator is involved, right? So, as I got older, went through different various things. Again, being a black man or a melanated man, an Israelite here in America, although it's not as bad as other places in the U.S., I've had my fair share of name calling, being put down, being picked last on a team, being told I was nothing, not going to be anything. So the perspective coming from a melanated person in America, I believe those things make us stronger, right? We've had to, we've had to be that way, right? We're coming out of our mother's womb knowing that, hey, we're just nothing. Again, that's what we were taught. My father was taught that. His father's father was taught that. It's just, we understand where that mindset comes from. They used Christianity to convert a lot of Negroes, into that religion. That's another topic, but that was passed down, right? And that's been impressed upon the melanated race that we are nothing. So getting my fair share of being put down and called names and being alienated in certain things, that's something that just rolls off my back because I've adapted and I've understood and know that I am not just, what people call me. I am not defined by what the masses say or what people say, right? That is, again, not how I was raised. I was raised that the Creator created me and that I am special and that as long as I am doing what the Creator says do, then I'll be okay, no matter what other people say. They may or may not live for the Creator. However, if I'm trying to live for the Creator and we do what the Creator says, then we'll be fine. So once again, just a little kind of backstory of how I was raised in the Christian religion and that I was proud. It just was deep in me, that type of lifestyle. So moving forward, as I get older, I get married. I move, out to Arizona. And then around 2010, my wife, she no longer wanted to be with me. And, although both sides of any relationship or marriage can be better, I truly believe it was because I was finding things that were going against how we were living life as Christians, right? So during that time frame of us going through those issues, I met a person online and through a support group. And through that group, this person told me, after getting to know that person and talk more frequently and get, a better relationship with each other, they proceeded to tell me that, hey, just so you know, that Bible that you're reading is a Hebrew book and it's been translated. And there's a lot of things that are just not Hebraically correct, if you would. And so at that time, I didn't know what he was talking about. And so, I started to look into things deeper. And again, me being, that curious person, I went into research mode. And sure enough, I found out things was never taught before. And so this is why I do believe, the divorce happened, because of the fact that I'm seeing things that are off. Even though I've been told these things all my life, I'm seeing the facts and the evidence and doing the research. And I always implore people to do the research yourself and find out if what's being said is really lining up with the scriptures. And so again, in a quick nutshell, that began my journey and me changing my lifestyle so that it reflected to be in line with the Creator's word. That's the very beginning of it. So I made the choice to change and do things differently because how I was raised. It's about the Father, right? And so what he says is what we are to do. And I've done that all throughout my life. And, granted, back when I was young, I did not know that the Father actually had a true name. Like most Christians, we're taught to believe it's Lord and God, but that is 100% incorrect. That is not a name. Those are titles. And when you do your research, you understand and know that anytime it says capital Lord in that westernized translated Bible, that is the Heavenly Father's true name, YaHuWaH. So it's amazing when you start to look at these facts and these evidence, and then you start changing because the Father is he is real, all right, in my life at least. So he's important. So I put that importance on his name. But I started to see all these different things, and of course I started to tell my family and my friends. I was called various names that Satan has gotten me. I'm following Satan. I've lost it, all these certain things. That's not what bothered me because, again, I've dealt with name calling. I understand that's just an emotion. I'm fine with that. The real thing that really hurt my heart was that people, they just really didn't love the Father's word. When it comes down to it, they didn't believe it. They believed what this Christian New Testament person was saying, or they believed what the pastor was teaching them. However, the Creator is saying something different. And that's when I really knew that things in the church and in the religion of Christianity, it was really emotion driven. It wasn't driven by YaHuWaH's facts. It was driven by how you feel, what you can get, name it and claim it, go for yours. God is blessing you all the time, those certain things. However, we look at the Hebrew, that is not the case at all. So that is what really shook me when I began telling people and showing people what I've learned. I was radically changing. And again, for me, the Creator's word is important. It is part of my life. So I have to do this. So that's what I started finding out, all these certain things. And so this is the first part in my walk, finding these truths and then realizing, okay, the name of the Son of God was, no longer Jesus, but was a Hebrew name, YaHuShua. Now there's different variants out there and how it's said or spelled. But back then, that's what I believed because there was definitely facts and evidence that pointed to that name, Joshua, actually being YaHuShua in the Hebrew. So that is still a factual statement. Joshua in Hebrew is YaHuShua. I still stand on that to this day. However, after digging and continuing my journey, and again, going deeper, because there's many layers to this Christianity, and you have to get all the way back down to the basics, go all the way back to the Hebrew Old Testament, which is the Torah, and read Abba YaHuWaH's commandments, know what he says, because if you don't know what his commandments are, then you don't know what you're doing over here in this Christian New Testament. You won't really know. You may say, oh yeah, well, I can be saved by a particular person. That is incorrect. According to the Creator, no man can save someone else for their sins. Every man's got to deal with their own sins by themselves. So that is a fact. That is a statement. And if no one believes that, or if someone doesn't believe that, then what they're saying is that Abba YaHuWaH's word doesn't hold weight and that he lies. I'm not trying to say that. So these are the facts and the evidence that you find when you dig in and you take time, put the Christian New Testament away, spend several months reading the Hebrew ToRaH. Start from the top. I suggest you get a JPS Bible and you read those scriptures because there's the scriptures in the Hebrew Old Testament and then there's the Bible, right? Which is the changed, altered version of that. And right off the top, we know one of the commandments is not to add or remove from the word. And this is exactly what is happening and has happened in the Christian New Testament. Things are altered. Things are changed. Things are removed and injected into this word that are not aligned with what's going on in the Hebrew ToRaH. These are important things that we've got to, take into effect and look at. So during that whole time of the divorce, this gave me time to basically slow down, reevaluate, to look at my life and dig deep and reflect on who I was as a man, as a husband, as a father, as a, Hebrew Israelite here in America, and just get back down to the core values of, Abba YaHuWaH's word. And so that's where it all started. And like I said, over the years, we kept digging and finding more things. And then, we are where we're at right now is that I know when looking at these scriptures and comparing them to what Abba YaHuWaH's word is and his commandments to what someone else is saying, whether it be a false prophet, whether it be a teacher, whether it be a scribe, somebody over here in the New Testament, if those things don't line up, there is a problem. And we must go into checking that out. We have to do our research, we do have to do our studies, and we have to see if those things that are being said in a Christian church, any kind of establishment, whoever, if those things are in line with Abba YaHuWaH's word. Now, if you're not trying to live that type of lifestyle, then that's irrelevant. But for me, this is what I'm trying to do. I am trying to lock in and live for the Creator 100% according to his truth, his commands, not a New Testament Messiahs whose words contradict the Heavenly Father, or they say those ones that walked with, Jesus or the New Testament Messiah, whoever you want to call him. Those words, we have to check to see if they line up with what is written, because they claim that the Christian New Testament is the fulfillment of the Hebrew ToRaH. That's a bold statement to say. And the only way we can tell for sure is to go back and check the work. And Abba YaHuWaH's words and the prophets that he chose are all in the Old Testament, the Hebrew ToRaH. When I took the time and I started seeing all these facts and all the evidence and all the commandments of YaHuWaH, again, things I were never taught as a young person in church. And for all of those, you probably have a similar story. When I was growing up, the children's church, that was no studies. That was coloring, that was singing, that was watching videos. That's what that was about. There was no bringing everything back to the Hebrew and studying it and learning it. Of course, we touch on Moses and the burning bush, right? Or the Red Sea parting, or the plagues in Egypt. Yes, you touch on those, but you don't go back and they don't give you the core fundamental commands of YaHuWaH and what's going on there. They just touch it because they want you to believe that, there's something new now. It's a New Testament, right? And so we understand and know after seeing these facts and these evidence, it's mind-blowing how people can just overlook these truths. Continuing to dig deep into the Hebrew, you will find out for sure that there are things there that you've just never heard of. And although maybe you've heard of them, they don't register until you take the time to just go back and read that Hebrew in its full and proper context. And so this is where I'm at now. I no longer believe in a Christian New Testament Messiah. Now, whether he existed or not is still irrelevant because of the fact that the Creator himself said that his anointed firstborn son is the nation of Israel, not a single human being, not one person. That is who he says his son is. Once again, if people don't believe that, then take that up with Abba YaHuWaH, that not me, because he said it. He said his son is the nation of Israel, not one single person. So I trust it because his word says that he is trustworthy, that his word doesn't change, and that we can count on him. So for me, that's not up for debate. Nothing that Abba YaHuWaH says in the Hebrew Old Testament is up for debate. Now, I've said it many times. People may interpret it a different way, and that's up for debate. But if he says that a human sacrifice is an abomination, that's what that is. And that's exactly what this Christian New Testament supposed Savior did. He was an innocent human sacrifice for the world. And we already know, like I mentioned before, a person cannot die for the sins of another. And that's what he did. So these are the things we have to look at, and we have to understand, and we have to look at the two different cultures. I've said this before. You have the Hebrew culture, and then you have the Christian Roman paganized culture, which they take all these things from the ancients and they flip it and they repackage it and they put it out. And that's what that is. So that's why the Hebrew ToRaH is totally different than the Christian New Testament. After that book of Malachi closed, Abba YaHuWaH said everything he needed to say. He explained everything he needed to say, and everything is now taking place. There is no changes. It's now in motion. Over here in the Christian New Testament, now there's somebody on the scene saying that they are the truth, the way, the life, that they are the only way to the Father, that, all these certain things, they can only be saved through this person. And that contradicts 100% what the Father says. And so I've said it once and I'll say it again. When it comes down to whose word do we trust and believe, for one, it's Abba YaHuWaH. And I will always go with the prophets of old who were chosen directly by YaHuWaH. I would choose those words over these Christian New Testament, Messiah or his followers, because never once do they say, thus saith YaHuWaH says this. No, they're saying it. We're expected to believe that, okay, this is just a continuation of the Hebrew script, where that is not the case. So I implore everybody just to take your time. Please go back, read those scriptures for yourself. And when I say scriptures, I'm talking about the Hebrew ToRaH, okay? Because I've said it many times, words in Hebrew don't always mean the same thing in English. And we have to put those Hebrew words in proper context. If we don't read it from the standpoint of the Hebrews, we're going to be thinking of Western culture. We're going to be reading scriptures from, what we think and what we've been taught and how we've been taught to look at scriptures, which is Western culture, and it's off. It's two different things. So take that into consideration when looking at the Hebrew scriptures and just the Bible in general and learning. And then lastly, as I just kind of close on this thing, there's just a few things that I want to share with you guys as takeaways, as it's been now over 12, 13 years walking in this truth and seeing things and realizing things, right? Changing. One of the biggest things that I can take away too, as in for men, right? Or even me being a father, it's just that our duty as a man and as a father or a husband is to protect and to guard everything that comes in the home. So whether that be, physically or mentally, and also when it comes to this type of, subject of the scriptures, right? We as men, we guard that door. So it's up to us as men. We're the first line of defense to make sure whatever's being taught to our children, to our wives, all those certain things, if we're trying to live for Abba YaHuWaH, has to be in line with the Father's commands and his word. If it's not, you got to take a look at that thing and shoot it down. You got to verify it, right? And the only way you verify it is going back to the Old Testament, where he said it, where he put it down, either himself or through his prophets. So that's what I'm doing. I am taking the responsibility as the father, as the man of the home, to make sure I guard my home. And whether it's, false doctrines, pagan holidays, all these certain things, how is Abba YaHuWaH looking at those subjects? Not me, not how I was raised to look at it and take part of it and do these things. My thoughts and what I say is irrelevant when it comes to the Father's word. But how does he look at these certain things, right? So that's one big thing as a man and as a now, a Hebrew, a melanated Israelite here in America, is my duty as the man of the home to protect and guard my home. And this is something that I will continually do. The next thing I'll share real quick is the fact that any other thought process other than what the Creator established is 100% off. Again, if you're trying to live for the scriptures, then any thought process or way of thinking or ideology or religion that contradicts the commands of the Father is 100% off. And that's all I'll say about that. Another thing I'll mention is the word truth. And what is truth? We know that so many people have their own truths, right? But the only truth that I'm trying to live by is the truth of Abba YaHuWaH's word. And what I've come to find out and realize in today's society is that I would say facts have never mattered less than they do today. I mean, we're living in a time where truth has been so downplayed, it's been diminished and undervalued, that those who are at the top, right, whether they be leaders or pastors or even parents, that they're comfortable with the truth being whatever they can convince people to believe. There's so many lies, there's so many deceptions, and it saddens me that when people hear the truth and they see it with their own eyes, but they just can't change to live for what that truth is because of their way that they were raised or the way that they are believed now, or they say, it's just too late for me. It's never too late to correct. This is why we made that video course correction, because it's never too late to correct. And this is where I'm at. I want to correct. I don't want to be going down the wrong path. And the only way I know what is right, which is just and unchanging and true, and that is Abba YaHuWaH's word. And just lastly, before I close it down, I wanted just to clear up the fact that a lot of people say, that I hate Christians or that I hate Jesus and all these certain things. And once again, this is a classic example of people just not wanting to sit down and hear both sides of the story, or any sides of the story, right? Or all sides of the story. It's easier for someone to sit there and keep their own perceptions because it makes them comfortable. It makes them feel justified versus sitting down and dealing with the fact that maybe they don't have all the pieces and they're making judgment calls based on a misassessment, right? So I don't hate Jesus and I don't hate Christians because that's ridiculous. I've got friends and family that are Christians and I love them and we speak every day and we're great. We talk and everything's fine. I don't hate Jesus. I don't hate that person. All I'll say is this: if someone says something that is in direct rebellion against the Father's commands, we have to take a look at it. It's just that simple. I've made the time to do that. I've heard so many different thought processes. I've heard so many different sects, groups, Christians, non-Christians, atheists, whoever, say certain things. And that is fine. Now, again, and don't get me wrong, there's things that people tell us in life that are good things, that are encouraging things that may not line up with the scripture. But when it comes down to obeying and doing certain things according to the word, we have to take heed to that. But do those things line up with Abba YaHuWaH's word, or they don't? It's just that simple. If they don't, I don't listen to it, have to worry about it. I don't fall out with them. I don't have some kind of a attack or some kind of ill will towards any of them. Everybody who truly knows me knows right now, I don't have ill will towards anyone. I understand people have different thought processes about certain things, but that doesn't mean that I hate them and that I think they're just scum on someone's shoe. And how do I know? Because I've been told that, I come from that type of lifestyle where, hey, you're nothing. So I don't reflect that, or I don't project that on any other people because they have different thought processes. We live life, we go to work, and we deal with people on an everyday basis, and they may or may not believe YaHuWaH's word. That's not my duty to make them believe it. I share it. Now, whether they gravitate towards it or not, that's their choice. Just like my children, I share the words. I share these facts and evidence so that they can have all the pieces, because guess what? Growing up, I didn't get all the pieces. My parents, they didn't get all the pieces. My parents, they didn't have all the pieces. So I have to understand and know that this is where I come from. They were doing the best they could with what they had, whatever time they could spend trying to figure it out. We know if we go way back, melanated people weren't even allowed to go in the library or even have books, right? So they couldn't even study. But today, totally different story. We have information, facts, and evidence right at our fingertips, whether it be our cell phone, whether it be a computer. You can go to the libraries and find out things. And I still find beautiful gold nuggets of facts that continue to solidify the fact that Abba YaHuWaH's word is real and it's true and it doesn't change. So I don't hate Christians. I don't hate Jesus, YaHuShua, YaHuWaShai, Yasha, Yesha, Isa, whatever names you want to call this Christian New Testament Messiah person, that's fine. But I will say this, it is irrelevant because the son of the Creator is the nation of Israel. And if we want to be protected, we want to be delivered from this captivity here in America, that's the only way we can do it, is be becoming Israel. That's the secret. So it doesn't matter on race, color, or creed. You become Israel, meaning you remove yourself from pagan theologies, pagan mindset, pagan customs, right? And you now change and become Israel and serve YaHuWaH alone. His word says that you are good, and his word has to keep you safe. He has to deliver you up out of captivity. That is the only way. So Christianity says something different. But the Creator, the one who made everything, is saying something else. He's saying that, hey, Israel's already forgiven. It's all about now I'm coming to deliver Israel from captivity. So I didn't want to make this too long, but I just wanted to make a new updated testimony because a lot has gone on. I've grown in a lot of certain things, and a lot of our ministry, if you would, Warriors of the Ruwach, is to be transparent in this walk, because we don't come out of the womb knowing everything. We don't come out having all the answers. That's what the life journey is for. And when we seek YaHuWaH, then we see what his word says. Okay? So that's what I'm doing. And that's what I was always taught to do, was to put YaHuWaH first, and he's in everything. So as we continue to dig, like his scripture says, to seek me and you'll find me, that's how all these things started to come into fruition, because we were digging, we were seeking, we were going deeper and deeper. And when we do that, those things are found. Okay? So I just wanted to say that, because I know a lot of people, they think otherwise about, Warriors of Ruwach, that we're some kind of a hate group, or that we don't like people, and all of these things that are totally false, because no one wants to come and sit down and just speak to us and see why we're doing what we're doing. You don't have to agree with it. You don't even have to believe it, but at least you understand now why we are doing what we're doing, because of the research that we've done, and because how we are living our lives. Again, some people aren't trying to live their lives for YaHuWaH, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But that's not me. I'm trying to lock it in, and I just want to be right, and I want to be on the Creator's good side and get delivered. And the only way I can do that is to become Israel. So that's where I'm at. Those are the things that I'm doing to change. And I just implore everybody to take the time to do that, and to go back and to do the research and to see for yourself what Abba YaHuWaH's word says. So in closing, all the warriors out there, you know how it is. Keep the bar high, never ever compromise, and return back to Abba YaHuWaH alone, for only he saves and delivers. Shalom and shalom.